My greatest triumph was at hand. The final campaign in my long war against Superman.
And we're back with our ongoing study of redesigning DC characters in a modern Marvel Rivals style. What you're seeing on screen is the cinematic trailer for DC Universe Online, a game that came out all the way back in 2011. I know, those are some dated cinematic graphics, and the gameplay didn't live up to the trailer. But what it did have was an innovative, inspired vision with focus and a faithful interpretation of the DC characters that fans actually really loved and appreciated. Now, just imagine if Warner Brothers put some real money into a modern video game about the DC characters made by fans for fans, with appealing, stylized, but faithful character designs. And all you have to do to get there is invest in what fans want, not what you think they want. And I think that's why the Western gaming industry is not doing so hot. But with the massive success of Marvel Rivals, I think the industry is taking notice. Things are going to change. And change is good. So let's continue to rivalize our DC characters, and hopefully we inspire some change in some small way. So how will the Flash and Green Lantern's rivalized makeover turn out? Well, stick around. Let's find out. Welcome back to another episode of my DC Rivals series, where I try to take classic characters from the DC universe and give them a modern Marvel Rival style makeover, without losing any of that nostalgic essence that make DC characters so cool, while at the same time deconstructing and learning from this Marvel Rivals art style, a fresh, stylized, cartoony superhero design that we just don't see often enough. It makes me want to play the game, but as an artist, it also makes me want to draw. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Brad Overall, an animator and illustrator with 20 years experience working in the industry. And in this series, I've already designed Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Black Canary with this Marvel Rivals style. Please click the links below to check those out. And in today's video, I'm going to try the Flash and Green Lantern. So let's start with the Flash. On screen, you'll see that I'm roughing out, looking for the pose that I want to use for this design. I think this pose is pretty good. I was pretty happy with it, but ultimately I decided I wanted just a more base standing pose for the character, and decided to design something else. This is the phase where I do my scribbly gestural drawings, where I try to figure out the pose, and I'm also searching for the correct proportions to so that it just feels like a solid character. I like this kind of hand on the head pose. It's sort of playful, as if he's sort of thinking about his next move or contemplating what he's gotten himself into. So here I've got all of his design details roughed out, and now I'm going to lay down the ink lines and sort of just give it a more solid line, finish those details. The one thing you'll notice about the Marvel Rivals character designs is that they're all designed with a unique look to each character, while also maintaining and respecting the original character and the essence of that character. So it's exactly what I'm trying to do with these DC characters. Modernize them a little bit, give them a more unique design, but also maintain and elevate their core DC personalities. I'm using Clip Studio Paint to create the artwork for these videos, and I'm drawing on a Huion Canva 24-inch tablet. Digital inking on this tablet with Clip Studio Paint is so smooth. I love it. But for the sake of time, let's speed up this inking process and get things moving. If you're interested in the longer, less edited playback form for these videos, let me know in the comments, and I'll make those available as soon as I can. I've just been really busy trying to keep up with these rivalized DC characters. And now I'll start adding the color flats. I've taken my ink drawing and I've duplicated it twice. One I put to the top of the stack, the layer stack, and I turn it off and I lock it so that it's always preserved. The other one I can use for blending and changing the line color. And then I'll use the original one that I drew on to fill the color flats. Design-wise, this Flash version is very similar to his typical standard comic book version. I'm just adding some black areas in around his costume, which I think just looks a little cool than solid red everywhere. And his head wings, I had a little was questioning what to do with those, and ultimately I went with sort of a unique lightning bolt design. And that lightning bolt motif I'll continue throughout his costume wherever I can. And that's very common with Flash designs, having the lightning bolt all throughout his costume. Here I'll add the solid shadow tones throughout, and that just gives a little more depth and shape to his muscles and his form. And they also tell us where his light source is, which is screen right and slightly above. So everything underneath his arms or to his left side is going to have shadow tones. Can someone tell me why we don't have a Flash video game? If there was a game like Insomniac's Spider-Man, but it was about the Flash or even Superman, hello, that would be amazing. Come on, Warner Brothers. Give up on the live service stuff and start making some epic single player games like you used to. Let's get back to our Flash design here. I'm going to get rid of this white background and I'm going to start blending and painting the character shadow areas. And this is where I'll take one of the line arts that I duplicated earlier, and I'll take the watercolor brush from Clip Studio Paint, and I'll start painting over those black lines, like blending it and giving it a nice blended wash color for all the shadows and all the line work around his costume. One thing you'll notice about the Marvel Rivals art style is that the painting techniques for some of the 2D character arts are left very loose and somewhat sketchy and liney. They're not blended perfectly most of the time. Some occasions they are, but they often have this sort of layered sketchiness to the paint. And that's something I'm trying to replicate with these designs. And as I blend some of these black lines with a digital watercolor brush, I can use that to create shadow tones, but then I can add a separate layer that allows me to paint those shadow tones in whatever color I want, maybe a deeper red instead of black. And here I'll paint in all the face details and his face shadows. And now I think I'm just about done. The last thing is to add that rim light on his left side. And after that, I'll add the magenta and cyan outline to that rim light. And that should just about do it. I think our rivalized Flash is done. What do you think? Is he rivalized? Obviously, it's not perfect, but I don't work for NetEase and I don't know their 2D design process. But what I can do is recognize great designs and try to replicate it using the tools that I'm most comfortable with. So let me know what you think of this rivalized Flash in the comments below. And now, Flash is out of the way, let's move on to the Green Lantern. But which Green Lantern, you might ask? Well, Hal Jordan is the classic and most popular Green Lantern, but I've always been a big fan of the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And I gotta say, Jon Stewart is pretty awesome. And while I was roughing out this pose, it occurred to me I've never actually drawn Green Lantern, any Green Lantern ever. So this will be my first time. So go easy on me and let's see how this goes. I decided to give him a pose where he's hovering off the ground, sort of holding up his ring hand. He's kind of similar to our original Superman pose, but I think that's okay. I'm pretty happy with this pose, so I'll probably make a couple adjustments and then start cleaning up this line before I go to ink. Here I'm adjusting his head, then I'll start cleaning up the line and correcting and tweaking the anatomy before I go to design his costume, which I'll do now. Just as an artistic exercise, I gotta say, it's so fun to sort of reconceptualize these classic superheroes, whether it's DC or Marvel. The tricky part is maintaining their specific identity. In other words, I'm attempting to modernize it without losing any of that classic feel, which I think is what the Marvel Rivals designers really achieved. So back to our character redesign here for Lantern. I've got his costume details worked out, all the character details, so now it's time to start laying down some ink lines. When I'm reconceptualizing these DC heroes, it's so easy to get carried away in the details and just over embellish their costumes. There's so much that we can add. But there's also beauty in the simplicity and in the original designs. So I'm trying to tone down any unnecessary detail or embellishments. And once again, if you're interested, I'll have the character model structures for the Flash, Green Lantern, along with Black Canary as a free download, so just click the link in the description below. I'll make some final adjustments to his design here, and then his ink lines are done. It's time to move on to the color flats. As I did with the Flash design, I'll duplicate the line art layer a couple times, one to preserve and one to use as a painting guide to blend in with the colors. Why do I preserve one of the ink lines? Well, in case I get to the end of the color process and I look at it and decide that's a bag of nope, then I have a clean line drawing where I can totally recolor the design and start new. And when it comes to anything, your second attempt will always teach you more and end up better. And in the color process here, I'm laying down all the hard shadow tones. And again, he's going to be lit from screen right, so screen left will be his shadowed side. By the way, what do you guys think of James Gunn's new DC movie universe? For me, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think his casting for Jon Stewart, Aaron Perry, I think it's great. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, his hard shadow tones are mostly done here, and it'll be time to move on to the painting and blending process. And if you're a digital artist or an aspiring digital artist and you have any questions, please let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you and yeah, give you my advice and tell you what I think. And getting back to the painting here, I'm using a digital transparent watercolor brush in Clip Studio Paint, and that allows me to get a nice painted watercolor layering effect without blending the colors too much. And that's an effect that we see used a lot in the Marvel Rivals character designs and painting styles. So here I'll continue to tone and blend, and by doing that, I'm adding depth and dimension to his muscles, to the anatomy, to his costume. And by combining this watercolor blending technique with the hard shadow painting that I did on the flat version, it starts to create these nice shapes in the tones and painting, a lot like you see in the Marvel Rivals painting designs. And now that I've got my darker tones all painted in, I'm going to go in now with some white highlight areas where the light is sort of reflecting and just bouncing off his suit. I'll also add a few more lighter tones here and there, and then I'm going to add his face colors and give some depth and shadows to his face. And here I'll add some larger highlights to his chest and shoulders, and I'll take the smudging tool in Clip Studio Paint and I'll sort of the edges of that white highlight. I'll get rid of the white background, and then I want to add some more costume details, especially to his chest area there. I think that could use some more detail. Now I'll add some highlights to those line details on his chest, and I think we're ready to move on to our rim light. So if you like these latest DC Rivals designs and you like what I'm doing on this channel, a great way to show your support, you can purchase the HD digital downloads for these character designs for just a couple bucks. You can print them later, use them as a screensaver, or study them as reference for your own digital artwork and character designs. And we'll add a couple more lines here to our signature Marvel Rivals rim light on his left side, and I think that's about it. Our Green Lantern is done. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I think this Green Lantern turned out a lot better than my previous attempts. This might be one of the best ones yet. So I hope you liked the video. I've got more Rivalized DC characters on the way. Thank you to everyone who contributed to the poll. I definitely think we'll change it up and add some new characters eventually, not right away. And if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave more comments about what you think and what other characters you'd like to see in this series. So thank you so much. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. All the best, and I will see you in the next one.